cultural globalization.
Hi, good morning. Today we will discuss about cultural globalization. But first, what is globalization? Globalization refers to the increasing interconnectedness of the world through the exchange of goods, services, information, and culture. It is driven by advances in technology, transportation, and trade. Scope of discussion. This presentation focuses on cultural globalization, exploring how it influences societies and the persistence of local traditions amidst global influences. The historical background of globalization. The early globalization, ancient like routes like the Silk Road connected civilizations and allowed cultural exchanges. Colonialisms introduced new goods, languages, and religions to different parts of the world. Modern globalization, industrial revolutions, and technological advancements accelerated globalization, making the world more interconnected. So imagine the world as a giant puzzle. In the past, each piece of the puzzle was isolated, only knowing about the pieces nearby. People traded with their neighbors, and their cultures developed independently. Today, thanks to the advancements of technology and transportation, the puzzle pieces are fitting together. We can now connect with people from anywhere in the world. Almost instantly, we can buy products made in distant countries, and we can travel to different places with ease. This increasing interconnectedness is what we call globalization. It's the process of the world becoming more and more intertwined. The technology as a key driver of globalization. First is wireless communication. Tools like smartphones and the internet allow for instant global communication. The e-commerce platforms. Global marketplace like Amazon and eBay provides access to international products. Lastly is digital media. Streaming platforms and social media allow the dissemination of cultural products globally. The The impact of globalization has brought many benefits such as economic growth, exchange and technology advancement. They also lead to challenges like income inequality, job displacement, and environmental issues. To sum it up, globalization has made our world smaller and more independent. It's both a powerful force for progress and a complex challenge that requires careful management.
Good day everyone. I am discussing about what is cultural globalization. Cultural globalization is the process where cultural ideas, tradition, values, and practices spread beyond their place of origin to influence and shape the world. The mass sharing of media, food, and lifestyle practices across countries blurs national boundaries and creates a shared global culture. For instance, people worldwide may watch American films, enjoy Japanese cuisines, or participate in global trends like social media platforms. The next is homogenization versus cultural diversity. Homogenization refers to the idea that globalization leads to a single, uniform culture, often dominated by Western influences like American brands, fashion, and entertainment, as global companies like McDonald's or Nike expand worldwide. And cultural ideas diversity emphasizes that while globalization spreads global brands and ideas, local culture adapt them in unique ways. This recontextualization leads to a blend of global and local influences, preserving local identity. So next is emergence of global subcultures. Global subcultures arise when people across different countries share specific interests and lifestyles, creating communities that transcend national boundaries. These subcultures often thrive online, where people with shared passions like music, fashions, or gaming connect and form tight-knit global communities. And lastly, the International Faculty Club. The term International Faculty Club is a metaphor for the global network of academics, researchers, and professionals who collaborate across borders. This refers to the growing trend of professionals from different countries working together to address major global challenges such as the climate change, pandemic, and technological innovation. These collaborations are made possible by technology, global conferences, and international organizations. That's all. Thank you.
Non-governmental organizations or NGOs as global players. Role of NGOs. NGOs like Amnesty International, WWF, and Doctors Without Borders work across borders to tackle issues like human rights, environmental protections, and disaster relief. Impact on globalizations. These organizations highlight global solidarity and the interconnected nature of social and environmental problems. Transnational workers and migrations. Who are transnational workers? Migrant workers who cross borders for better opportunities, often carrying their cultures with them. For example, Filipino caregivers in Canada, Indian tech professionals in Silicon Valley. Cultural impact. Migrants bring their cultural practices to host countries while adapting local customs, creating multicultural societies. Persistence of local cultures. Why do local cultures persist? Strong emotional and historical ties to traditions, rituals, and heritage. Local resistance to communications through festivals, crafts, and language preservations. For example, revival of indigenous art forms in Latin America. Experiencing globalization through travel. Travel as cultural exchange. Tourism and business travel promote cultural interactions and awareness. Challenges. Over-tourism can lead to the commodifications of cultures where traditions are altered to cater to tourists. Example, homestay programs offering authentic cultural experiences.
Thank you, Mr. Joshua Monteo. So, good morning. This is the continuation of our report. Standardization of cultural experiences. Definition. The uniformity and experiences across different regions due to global influences. Global influences such as media, technology, and international trade create a shared culture, leading to uniform experiences across regions. People worldwide access similar products, trends, and lifestyle, reducing regional uniqueness. For example, fast food chain like KFC and Starbucks offering similar menus globally. Streaming services like Netflix promoting global entertainment trends. The demographic influences. It is referred to the ways in which characteristics of a population such as age, gender, income, education, and many more affects the behavior, preferences, and decision making. These factors shapes consumer trends, societal norms, and policies, influencing everything from market demands and political decision to cultural and social dynamics. The population trends, migration, and urbanization create a multicultural cities. Aging populations in developed countries influence market demands. So what is the impact on it in our culture is that cultural blending in cities creating hybrid traditions. Political consequences of globalization. Challenges to national sovereignty. International agreements often override national policies. For example, trade agreements and environmental accords. Global governance. The rise of organizations like the United Nations and World Trade Organization. It increased independence. For example, nations collaborate on global challenges like climate change and terrorism, fostering cooperation but also dependence. Anti-globalism movement. Definition. Resistance to the perceived negative impacts of globalization. For example, these are social, political, or economic campaigns opposing aspects of globalization. This movement criticizes globalization for its perceived negative impact. Example, localization movements promoting local businesses and sustainable practices. This includes protests against the World Trade Organization, anti-free trade campaigns, and nationalist movement advocating for professionalism and localism.
The illusion of global cultures. The concept of a single global culture is more of an ideal than a reality. While global trends like Western media, fashion, and technology spread widely, they are adapted to fit local traditions and values. For instance, Bollywood movies often blend Western genres like romantic comedies or action films, but reinterpret them with Indian cultural elements, such as family dynamics, values, and music, creating a unique identity that resonates locally. This demonstrates how global influences are transformed to reflect diverse culture rather than being adopted uniformly. The next one is borrowing and translating popular culture. Borrowing and translating popular culture means taking elements of global culture and adapting them to fit local needs and traditions. For example, Japanese manga, which are popular comics in Japan, have influenced Western graphic novels. While the art styles and storytelling are inspired by Japanese manga, Western graphic novels still reflect local tastes and styles. Another example is fast food chains. While global brands like McDonald's may serve the same basic menu, they often include local ingredients or flavors. The next one is cultural ties that bind. Cultural ties that bind are the traditions and practices that remain strong even in the face of global influences. These are aspects of culture that people continue to value and protect. For examples, traditional celebrations like Lunar New Year and Diwali. They are deeply rooted in local customs and are celebrated with pride, despite the spread of global culture. Another example is the preservation of local crafts and languages. Many communities work hard to keep their traditional arts, like weaving or pottery, and their native languages alive, even as global trends become more widespread. Transnationalism versus nationalism. Transnationalism is the idea of connecting with the world and sharing ideas across borders. It focuses on global cooperations and the benefits of working with other countries. while nationalism is about people wanting to protect their country's culture, identity, and independence. It's like standing strong for your own country and its values. But there's tension between these two ideas. The challenge is finding a balance between protecting a country identity and embracing global connections. So, what are the challenges of cultural imperialism? Cultural imperialism is when one culture becomes dominant over others, often through globalization. For example, Western media like movies, TV shows, and social media can influence how people think and what stories get told, sometimes pushing aside local cultures and traditions. The impact of this dominance is that it can threaten cultural diversity, meaning we might lose unique traditions and ways of lives. It can also take away a country's control over its own culture identity. And in conclusion, globalization brings people and cultures closer together, encouraging the exchange of ideas and connecting us globally. However, it doesn't mean that local cultures will disappear. Instead, we see a mix of cultures where different traditions and influences adapt and combine. Looking to the future, it's important that we focus on being inclusive, sustainable, and respectful of cultural differences as we continue to live in a more globalized world.
So, to sum up, every day we knowingly or unknowingly experience globalization, the worldwide movement of people, ideas, money, goods, data, drugs, computer, biological viruses, greenhouse gases, and more. This isn't new. People and goods have always moved around the world. So, what is new? However, is the scale, velocity, range of these flows across borders. Look at your smartphones and think about the global coordination it took to produce. The interconnectedness of the modern world allows ideas, behaviors, style, products, and news to spread more quickly and readily during any other period of history. But globalization's effects are complex. What represents an upside down for some people might represent a downside for others. Technology, for example, allows billions of people to contact friends and access news from around the world. International supply chains, the network that turns raw materials into finished items, produce and distribute goods more quickly and cheaper than ever. But the pace of technological innovation has also led to the automation of manufacturing processes, which eliminates jobs. Trade is another example. Between 1970s and 2015, global exports and imports of goods each multiplied more than 50 times. More imports led to increased consumers' choices and reduces prices, and more trade can strengthen ties between trading partners and promote peace, security, and growth. But more trade opportunities and technological advances means many corporations choose to ship their operations to countries where the labor and natural resources are cheaper. And individuals and companies that can take advantage of the international resources experience outside gains, which widens the growing gap between the rich and the poor. The effects of globalization, both negative and positive, are reality. No one can opt out entirely, but governments have many options for responding. They can choose how open and close they want to be towards trade, investment, visitors, immigrants, refugees, and more.